For assignment number 3, I chose to go with topic number 16, which was over communism in churches and seminaries. So after doing some research and watching videos over this topic, it really explained a lot about what's going on within churches and why a lot of church members have an extremely skewed idea about what being a Christian means. So as a Christian myself, and as someone who has done a lot of studying within the Bible, it's extremely hard to see that communists want to take over Christianity. And so communism was developed by Karl Marx, and it's a political theory that basically will take away your freedom, and so the government has full control over you. So in this video assignment for number 16, it expresses that many churches and seminaries across the world that are a part of the National Council of Churches, and people like bishops and priests and cardinals are trying to form the church into a homo-communist cesspool. So the first thing mentioned in this video was a quote by Manning Johnson, who is a former Communist Party leader, and this quote states, "The communists discovered that the destruction of religion could proceed much faster through infiltration of the church. It was determined that with only small forces available, it would be necessary to concentrate communist agents in seminaries and churches and divinity schools. These institutions would make it possible for a small communist minority to influence the ideology of future clergymen. The idea was to divert the emphasis from spiritual to the material." So in other words, this quote is trying to say that the Communist Party is a rather small group. So in order to gain power, they needed to start working from inside the church rather than outside of the church. So this meant that supporters of communism needed to become leaders in the church for them to take down religion and change the beliefs of others. So the second statement that was mentioned in this video was by Benjamin Gitlow, who was a co-founder of the Communist Party. He stated this: "The Methodist Federation of Social Action was first organized by Dr. Harry Ward. Its objective was to transform the Methodist Church into an instrument for the achievement of socialism." The Methodist Federation of Social Action is a group that labels themselves as justice-seeking people of faith. These people strive to take action in issues like poverty and peace and people's rights, which makes them seem like a really great group to follow. But in reality, this is a form of socialism because they want everything to be regulated by the community as a whole. So in other words, in order to solve their poverty issue, the community would want to decide what you do with your money. Basically, they support self-control and freedom being taken away from you. So the next quote mentioned was by Pastor Joe Skimmel, and he explains why everyone thinks this is such a great idea. He says, "Most Christians these days are tragically biblically illiterate and are accepting anything that has the name Jesus stamped upon it. But it's not the agenda of Jesus of the Bible. It's basically the Satanic agenda, which is seeking to displace Jesus. They exalt the worship of man and creation over the Creator." In my opinion, this statement couldn't be any more true. So many Christians nowadays don't take the time to educate themselves on what the Bible actually says. They just simply believe everything the preacher or the Pope tells them that they should believe. There's a lot of people in groups out there that claim to be Christian-based, but it's actually all a front. In 2 Corinthians chapter 11 in the Bible, it states, "These people are false apostles. They are deceitful workers who disguise themselves as apostles of Christ. Even Satan disguises himself as an angel of light. So it is no wonder that his servants disguise themselves as servants of righteousness." This is sadly how many churches and seminary leaders are nowadays. They front as good Christians, but are really doing Satan's work. So the communist goal was to turn the church, which was their enemy, into their greatest asset. And they planned to do this by first creating a false god, which was a God who is only of love and never allows punishment. Secondly, they created a false gospel, a do-good work salvation instead of just trusting in Christ alone. And thirdly, they created a false mission, the mission of saving the planet instead of fulfilling the Great Commission. Any true Christian knows that God is love, but he cannot be a part of your sin. We cannot enter into heaven just by doing good works or good deeds, or depending on what denomination we're a part of. We can only enter into heaven by believing in Jesus Christ alone. God didn't create us to save the planet, but he created us to lead people to salvation. Read anywhere in the book of Matthew or Genesis, Romans, Ephesians, Galatians, 1 John, or, basically any book of the Bible, and you'll see the true meaning of Christianity, and it doesn't involve communism. Communism and Christianity cannot and should not coexist. And I used all these links throughout the entire presentation.